South Korean President Moon Jae-in's called it an unprecedented emergency, a trade standoff with Japan that's threatening to pull down some of Korea's key tech industries. So what's going on, and is there a way out? I'm Alex Jensen for Korea Now. This emergency came about after Japan began to tighten regulations on exports to South Korea of high-tech materials essential for the production of semiconductors and display panels. Japan has a global grip on processing these materials, and that's not going to change in a hurry, even with Seoul vowing to spend billions of dollars to promote the sector and diversify import lines. But South Korea also has a grip on semiconductors and displays, so this move by Tokyo hurts both sides, as well as those further down the supply chain. And why did Japan do this? It's claimed Tokyo's responding to South Korean court rulings ordering Japanese firms to compensate Koreans forced into labor during Japan's 1910-45 colonial rule. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe raised suspicions last weekend that South Korea may not abide by sanctions on the North because of Seoul's alleged failure to keep to a 1965 treaty settling colonial-era issues. And a close confidant of Abe reportedly raised concerns exports to South Korea could end up in the North. That's been emphatically dismissed by Seoul, and even North Korea's media slammed Japan's move against the South as a shameless act that indicates a lack of remorse for historical wrongdoings. Japan's motivation is important because Seoul is trying to drum up international support. During a World Trade Organization session last week, South Korea denounced Tokyo's export control measure as politically driven. Seoul is particularly upset that Japan's move is against just one country and came just after Osaka hosted the G20 summit, which highlighted free and fair trade. Tokyo officials have pointed to weakened bilateral trust and potential security risks, but South Korea wants Japan to clearly explain itself. And this all places the US in a tricky position between important allies. Seoul has sent officials to both Japan and the US this week, while regional security is sensitive on the North Korea front. But we shouldn't necessarily hope for intervention by the US, as President Donald Trump is close to Abe and hasn't exactly been a trade model himself. What other options are there then? Seoul is pushing for a Moon-Abe summit, but Japan has an election coming up and Abe's unlikely to concede ground now. Meanwhile, it would be a major problem for Moon's popularity if he pursued the kind of historical settlement that drew so much past criticism. And the South also has next year's general election. Even more of a threat to Moon and the main Liberal Party is South Korea's economic performance. Growth forecasts are dipping into the 1% range, and Moon told local business leaders Wednesday the government is doing its best diplomatically while preparing for the worst, warning Tokyo of a dead end ahead. Samsung's Lee Jae-yong wasn't at the meeting because he's been in Japan, and maybe this is where money needs to talk.